And finally, as President Donald Trump's inauguration was nothing short of a family reunion, however, it was the 6'7".
Barron Trump has always been a reserved child, shielded by Melania from the public eye. When he first appeared at his father's 2017 inauguration, he was a shy 10-year-old quietly standing beside his parents. Fast forward to Donald Trump's 2025 inauguration, and Barron captivated audiences with his towering presence and newfound confidence. From his poised demeanor to his impeccable style, the youngest Trump has become a topic of fascination. Join us as we explore why Barron Trump's inauguration look is causing a stir. Before we find out why Barron Trump's inauguration look is causing a stir, let me ask you, what do you really know about Barron? If your answer is not much, you're not alone. Unlike his older siblings, who've lived much of their lives in the spotlight, Barron has always been somewhat of a mystery. Despite being born into one of the most high-profile families in America, he's managed to stay under the radar for most of his life. Let's peel back the curtain just a little on Barron's early years. Based on the rare glimpses Donald and Melania Trump have shared, Barron William Trump was born on March 20, 2006, in Manhattan, New York City. From the moment he arrived, his life was far from ordinary. The youngest of Donald Trump's 5 children and the only one with Melania, Barron grew up in the lavish Trump Tower penthouse, where an entire floor was designated as his personal domain. Yes, you heard that right, his own floor, complete with white Carrara marble columns and a fireplace. Talk about living large. Melania affectionately called it Barron's living room, and apparently, it was filled with toys, including a mini Mercedes-Benz with a custom license plate. A little extra, maybe, but hey, what else would you expect from the Trump family? Despite the grandeur of his home life, Barron's early childhood wasn't entirely defined by gold-plated everything. Melania, who's fiercely private and devoted as a mother, took a hands-on approach to raising him. Now let's talk about school. Barron started his education at Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School in Manhattan, one of the city's elite private schools. But here's something interesting: when Donald was elected president in 2016, Barron didn't immediately move to Washington, D.C., with his parents. Instead, Melania stayed back with him so he could finish the school year in New York. Can you imagine being in 5th grade and casually telling your friends, "Oh yeah, my dad's the president now"? What's even cooler is that during his final year there, Barron took his entire 5th grade class on a trip to Washington to visit the White House. When he finally made the move to D.C., Barron enrolled at St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Maryland, marking a break from the tradition of presidential families sending their kids to Sidwell Friends School. It's a detail that subtly hints at how Melania and Donald approached parenting differently from their predecessors. And yet, through all these transitions, Barron remained as elusive as ever: no interviews, no social media antics, just a quiet, almost mysterious presence. Maybe some of you are wondering why Barron Trump always seemed to be in the background, especially compared to his older siblings, who thrive under the spotlight. Well, the answer might lie in one simple fact: Melania Trump is fiercely protective of her son. From the very beginning, Melania prioritized giving Barron a sense of normalcy, even if his life was anything but normal. Let's start with their incredibly close bond. Melania didn't just play the role of a doting mom, she built her world around Barron. She once said her main job was taking care of him, and honestly, it shows. When he was young, she insisted he learn her native language, Slovenian, so he could speak to her parents, who were instrumental in raising him. It's a sweet image, isn't it? Little Barron chatting with his grandmother in fluent Slovenian. Melania was all about keeping family ties strong, even in the midst of their highly public lives. But being raised under Melania's wing wasn't just about language lessons or family dinners, it was about creating a protective bubble for Barron to grow up in. Melania wasn't one to mingle with the social elite or drag her son to glitzy events. In fact, when the Trump family moved to Mar-a-Lago after Donald's presidency, Melania stayed just as private as ever. Even as the First Lady, she didn't court friendships or form a circle of confidants. Her focus was clear: Barron came first. This protectiveness shaped Barron's personality. By most accounts, he's a quiet, reserved kid, worlds away from the big personalities of his father and older siblings. Even as a young boy, he seemed to prefer staying out of the limelight. So when Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, you can imagine Barron's hesitation at the idea of leaving his life in New York City. Unlike most kids, who'd probably be thrilled to live in the White House, Barron wasn't exactly eager to pack his bags. He loved his school in Manhattan and his friends. Moving to Washington was a big adjustment, and at just 9 years old, it must have felt like the world was shifting beneath his feet. Donald himself admitted that Barron struggled with the idea at first. The idea of trading that for a new school and the very public life of the first family wasn't exactly appealing. But Melania stepped in, as she always did, to make the transition as smooth as possible. As we already mentioned, she stayed back in New York with him for months after Donald's inauguration, letting him finish the school year and giving him time to adjust. It's a move that speaks volumes about her dedication as a mom. Even after they moved to D.C., Melania worked hard to create a sense of normalcy for Barron. She was known to have long, heartfelt talks with him about life in the spotlight, trying to help him understand and cope with the constant scrutiny. And she wasn't just shielding him from the pressures of being the president's son, she was also protecting him from the ugliness of public criticism. Let's not forget, Barron faced online attacks simply for being Donald Trump's son. But Melania, with her calm demeanor, stood firm. She worried about how the negativity might affect him but made sure to be his sounding board whenever he needed her. The lengths Melania went to for Barron even extended beyond the White House years. When Donald ran for re-election, she was open about letting Barron decide how much he wanted to be involved. She believed in giving him space, independence, and respecting his opinions as he grew older. And, of course, she always made sure he had a comfortable place to land, whether it was at Trump Tower, the White House, or Mar-a-Lago. However, after all the buzz about Donald Trump's inauguration in 2017, there was one unexpected figure who quietly captured the public's attention: 10-year-old Barron Trump. As the youngest of the Trump clan, this was Barron's first major appearance on a stage that big. The entire world was watching. The cameras were unforgiving, and every glance, fidget, or yawn was scrutinized. But there he was, standing tall for a 10-year-old, dressed impeccably, and somehow managing to keep it together. First off, let's talk about his look. Barron was the picture of youthful elegance. He wore a perfectly tailored navy suit, paired with a crisp white shirt and a classic blue tie. It was simple but sharp, formal enough for the occasion without making him look like he was playing dress-up in his dad's wardrobe. His blonde hair was neatly combed, with just a hint of volume at the top, giving him a polished but age-appropriate vibe. Say what you will about the Trumps, but they know how to dress for the occasion, and Barron nailed it. But beneath that polished exterior was still a 10-year-old kid, and the enormity of the day wasn't lost on him. Sure, he behaved well, standing alongside his family during the swearing-in and smiling at the right moments. But if you paid close attention, you could see flashes of what he was really feeling: the occasional yawn, the slightly bored expression during long speeches, the way he seemed to shrink behind his mom's elegant blue ensemble. These were all signs of a kid trying to make sense of a day that was, let's face it, way more exciting for the adults. And this is where Melania Trump comes into the picture. If there's one person who deserves credit for Barron's poise that day, it's her. Throughout the event, she was glued to his side, offering those little gestures of reassurance that only a mom can give: a gentle touch on his shoulder, a quick glance to check if he was okay. Melania's influence on Barron's demeanor was undeniable. Trade the endless ceremonies for a gaming session back at Trump Tower, who could blame him? For a 10-year-old, hours of formalities can feel like an eternity. But his occasional fidgeting and yawns weren't just relatable, they were endearing. It was a reminder that behind the suit and tie was a regular kid just trying to get through an extraordinarily grown-up day. One of the most talked-about moments came during Donald Trump's inaugural address. As the cameras panned across the family, Barron's stoic expression became an unexpected topic of conversation. Was he deep in thought, nervous, or just really tired? Whatever the reason, his quiet presence added an air of intrigue to the youngest member of the Trump clan. By the end of the day, Barron had managed to do something remarkable. He stayed composed, looked great, and even cracked a few small smiles. That felt like a reward for the audience paying attention to him. Between high school graduation, his first ever campaign rally, and starting college, Barron Trump has had a whirlwind couple of years. The youngest son of Donald and Melania Trump, Barron has always been a bit of a mystery, but recent events have brought him just a little closer to the public eye. And let's be honest, people can't stop talking about him. First up, his graduation. In May 2024, Barron wrapped up his high school career at Oxbridge Academy in Palm Beach, Florida. This elite private school isn't just known for its academics, it's also got an impressive roster of alumni. Barron's time there was remarkably low-key, though. True to his nature, he stayed under the radar, maintaining a low profile even as the son of a former president. It's hard to imagine being a regular high school student when Secret Service agents are probably shadowing you between classes, but Barron somehow pulled it off. From Oxbridge, Barron transitioned seamlessly into another elite institution, New York University. But before we get to his college life, let's talk about a milestone that happened in between, his first ever campaign rally. In July 2024, Barron joined his dad on the campaign trail for the first time. The rally took place at Trump National Doral Golf Club in Florida. For a family that thrives on public appearances, this was a big moment. Donald even made a point to highlight Barron's presence, joking from the stage that his youngest son might be more popular than his older brothers, Don Jr. and Eric. Barron didn't give a speech, but just being there felt significant. At 18, he carried himself with the same quiet composure we saw during Donald's first presidential inauguration back in 2017. But this time, he looked more grown-up and confident. As the crowd cheered, it was a glimpse of a more mature Barron stepping into a new chapter of his life. Fast forward a few months, and Barron was off to NYU. In September 2024, he was spotted arriving on campus, flanked by Secret Service agents. While most college freshmen have to worry about dorm room decor and figuring out meal plans, Barron's move-in experience was a bit more high-profile. And where did he decide to live? Right at home in Trump Tower, naturally. According to Melania, it was Barron's idea to stay in New York. She also couldn't stop gushing about him, calling him an incredible young man and praising his intelligence, kindness, and strength. Classic proud mom energy, right? But let's not gloss over the fact that Barron is apparently quite the heartthrob on campus. A source told People in December 2024 that he's popular with the ladies. Honestly, it's not hard to see why. He's tall, blonde, and comes from one of the most famous families in the country. Fast forward to January 20th, 2025, and Barron Trump was no longer the shy, yawning 10-year-old from his dad's first inauguration. At 18, he was an entirely different figure, literally. Standing a towering 6 feet 9 inches, Barron turned heads the moment he stepped onto the national stage for Donald Trump's second swearing-in ceremony. Suddenly, it wasn't just his father commanding attention, Barron was a showstopper in his own right. He is officially the tallest member of the Trump family, and honestly, he made everyone else look a little bit like chess pieces. Whether standing beside his father or casually exchanging glances with Melania, Barron's height gave him an unmistakable presence. But it wasn't just his stature that caught people's attention, it was how he carried himself. And then there was the suit. Barron's outfit was stylish and downright impeccable. The classic suit fit him like a dream, which is no small feat when you're as tall as a basketball player. Tailored to perfection, the suit featured clean, sharp lines and narrow lapels that gave it a modern edge. It was formal without being over the top, striking just the right balance for an event of this magnitude. Underneath the suit, Barron opted for a crisp white shirt with a classic collar, simple, timeless, and elegant. And let's not overlook the navy blue tie with a subtle pattern. It was the perfect pop of personality, adding just enough flair to keep things interesting without overshadowing the overall look. Every detail seemed carefully considered, like he'd been coached by a style guru, or maybe just his mom, Melania. Speaking of Melania, she was positively glowing with pride throughout the ceremony. She stayed close to her youngest son, her beaming smile saying more than words ever could. For years, Melania has been the steady force behind Barron, guiding him through a life that's been anything but normal. Seeing him step into this moment with such poise must have felt like a personal triumph. Barron finished his look with polished black leather Oxfords, the kind that screams old-school elegance. No flashy extras, no unnecessary embellishments, just classic footwear that tied the whole outfit together. He even kept accessories to a minimum, with only a sleek watch peeking out from beneath his sleeve. The whole ensemble was a masterclass in understated sophistication. But what really set Barron apart wasn't just his outfit, it was how he wore it. He didn't fidget or fuss. Instead, he carried himself with the kind of composure that made you forget he was only 18. So here's why Barron Trump's inauguration look is causing a stir. First, confidence. It was written all over him. During Donald Trump's inaugural address, the moment that truly melted hearts came when Donald paused mid-speech to introduce his youngest son with a proud grin, gesturing toward Barron. And just like that, all eyes were on him. Barron, who once shied away from public attention, met the crowd's gaze with a calm confidence that was almost magnetic. As applause thundered through the audience, he raised his hands to acknowledge it with a mix of charm and poise. And then, in a move that caught everyone off guard, he cued his hand to his ear, playfully inviting even louder cheers. The crowd erupted in laughter, and at that moment, Barron was a natural performer. It wasn't just the humor or the towering height that had people talking, it was the way Barron's movements seemed effortless, light, and deliberate. His posture was straight but relaxed, his gestures measured but engaging. It was hard not to imagine him in his father's shoes one day, commanding a stage as confidently as a seasoned leader. The future looks pretty bright for Barron Trump. Who knows, maybe one day, he'll be the one delivering an inaugural address. How do you think Barron managed to appear so confident during such a high-profile event at just 18 years old? Let us know in the comments and subscribe to our channel for more.